men, and I use the term loosely. The video you're about to watch was previously released as video number 3 in the series. I had intended to release it as video number 3 in the reissue of this series. However, in going through the videos I'd saved in the files, etc., what I find out is that this is really the 7th video and not the 3rd. The reasons for that are, who cares? Doesn't really matter. But in any case, this video is a re-release of what would have been the 3rd video in the series. Just to kind of put the time frame in perspective for you, the first video was February 2024. Second video was February 2024. The 3rd video in the current series was March 2024. And the 4th video was March 2024. And then everything skips ahead to December 2024. So there are no videos between March 2024 and December 2024. 2024 was a very busy year for me, and in that period there from March to December when no videos were released, I did 3 whole bikes. I did the Harton. I don't know if you remember that. It's the guy who had a Sportster engine in a Norton frame. I did that blue 67 Restore. Well, it really wasn't a whole Restore. Well, maybe it was. I did that bike. But anyway, it was a whole bike project. Took weeks and months. It was up on my lift a long time. And then I did that Rat Rod No More, which was what I thought was a really, really, really nice chopper that had that skull on the paint job on the gas tank. I thought that bike was very cool. But anyway, so that occupied everything from March until December 2024. In December 2024, I did the video on the very beginning steps of the oil tank for this bike I'm building right now. So that was December 2024. And nothing was released until April 2025 when I did the oil filter adapter. And that brings us to April 2025 right now when I'm doing the this update video that you're about to watch. Yeah, the oil tank and the seat pan were built between December 2024 and April 2025. So in that what is that, 5-month period there, and I didn't video any of that. So today you're going to be seeing those drop on you and boom, as if they came out of nowhere. And today you'll be seeing the seat pan done, the oil tank more or less finished, the fender oil tank seat support is finished, and that finishing work was not videoed. I really enjoy. Well, I enjoy making the videos, but I enjoy working on the bike more. And when I get kind of zoned out and working on the bike, I don't want to be bothered with jacking around with the camera. Fully videoing something easily doubles, if not triples, the amount of time it takes to do a particular operation. A 30-minute video might have 4 or 5 hours of editing time on it alone. So, I do, when I'm videoing an operation, there are retakes in there, the setting the camera up, moving the camera around. I use 2 cameras a lot of the time. Well, some of the time I got a GoPro, and this right now is being filmed on a Sunny. The GoPro is a piece of shit, and I keep saying one of these days I'm going to do a video about why I think it's a piece of shit, but the GoPro is a piece of shit. But anyway, doing the videos adds an awful lot of time to just the working on an item, and I really enjoy working on an item, and sometimes just don't want to be bothered with the damn cameras and all that, so I don't video some things. But anyway, that brings us up today, and today you're going to see a kind of a summary video, and this video was recorded in April 2025, so that's just 5 months ago. And what you're going to discover if you keep watching this series is a tremendous amount of video was recorded between April 2025 And today, which is September 10th, 2025, what is that? That's May, June, July, August. So that's 5 months, or 5 months of very intense work where I did do some customer stuff, but mostly I was working on my bike, and the most of the work on this bike, on my bike here, got done in this last 5 months. And indeed, the bike is right there, and it's pretty much done except for the tins, and you'll see that soon. So anyway, let's roll with today's video. Man, and I use the term loosely. Hey, it's been quite a while since you've seen a video on this bike here, like a year. And I think the last video you saw, I probably had a Evo style Sportster gas tank sitting on the rear wheel, and I was talking about how I thought I might cut it in half and make a oil tank out of it. So I spent a year procrastinating. Well, not quite a year, but a long time procrastinating. And I finally decided on a direction. Yeah, I got the last customer engine out of here, I don't know, a month ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And I've kind of took a little bit of a break. I do have some customer engines coming in soon, but in that break, I went back to working on my bike, which is, of course, always more fun. So this support here has been finalized. Just going to show you where I'm at here. I'm going to lightly bolt these things together here just so you can see. So I have decided for sure to go with the oil tank seat pan combo. This is the bracket that's going to hold the license plate on right here. The holes, well, the screws that hold it on are behind the bracket, so I had to drill some access holes so that I could put a wrench in there. This is 3/16" steel. I'm a little worried about the vibration. I may weld a closeout on here to keep this from flapping in the breeze too much. The mount here had a little bow to it on account of the way it was bent. So I had to rig it up in the milling machine. And I milled this surface here flat, side milled it flat, so that this bracket had something nice and square to sit on so that it would seat nicely on the mount. Anyway, license plate bracket, license plate frame. The backing plate for the frame is a chunk of aluminum I had laying around. I milled the middle of this out so the license plate would sit flush behind the frame. The oil tank and the seat are going to be rubber mounted. The oil tank needs to be rubber mounted. If it was rigidly mounted to this thing, it would crack. I guarantee it would crack. So I have some nice thick grommets in here. These bushings happen to be stainless steel. I had a chunk of some stainless steel bar stock I copped at a garage sale, so I made all these bushings out of stainless steel, and they're sized so that this shoulder here is as thick as the grommet is. So when you tighten everything up and squeeze it down, you won't squish the grommet. The bushing is going to be able to float inside the rubber, so to speak. They're a pretty tight fit, probably tighter than they need to be. And here you have the final configuration of the oil tank. I've decided if I'm building a steel oil tank, it has to have a hatch in it because I want to be able to get in there if need be in the future and clean the crud out. So it's got a hatch in it. Of course, it sits on the bike like this. When the bike is leaning on the kickstand, this is going to be the low side. So we've got a vent, a return, and the feed line. These are all at the lowest point in the tank. Therefore, the feed is always going to be under the oil. If I put it on the other side, on this side, and the bike was leaning on its side, if I let it get low on oil, this side might be uncovered. The vent and the feed have got tubes welded on them, so they stick up and will be above the oil level inside the tank. I wanted the cap off on the side, so once again, when the bike is leaning over, the cap is going to be straight up. This thing holds, it will hold 4 quarts of oil. So it'll hold 3 with the quart of headspace in it. That should be just fine. Bungs welded in the bottom of the tank. The bungs are about 1/8 of an inch above the surface of the bottom of the tank. That goes on there like that. Mounting hardware goes up from the bottom. This is the hatch. 1/4-inch steel drilled and tapped for all of these bowl holes. I use copper washers on them and probably Loctite 518 to seal it all up. When I get ready to paint this, I'll install this. Right now I'm just leaving it off because I don't need it to be on. The oil tank is rounded on the bottom, and that is about 1 3/4 inch radius right there. One of my design considerations, if you will, was that whatever I use for a seat, I wanted it to match the tank. So my seat pan has a rim around it that is also 1 3/4 inch radius. Because the tank sits on top of bungs that are about 1/8 of an inch tall, I made these spacers that are 1/8 of an inch tall so that when I bolt the seat pan on, the seat pan will be at the same height as the oil tank. So as much as possible, these curves will somewhat flow together. This also bolts up from the bottom. course, I'm cheating here. I'm going in from the top to make sure the spacers line up with the seat foam installed. I'm not going to be able to do that, of course, but I could do it now, so I will. I may use super glue to hold those spacers in place when it comes to final assembly. Okay, the screws are all tight, so it's in the, well, the screws are in, but they're not tight. So it's in the position it's going to be in, and I've got this matching here pretty well. Of course, you got to have foam. This is the seat foam. I got this at a place called Foam Factory, I think it was. And this is what they called their Super Luxe foam. I tried building one seat before. It was not the greatest experience in the world. But anyway, from the previous not so great experience, I learned a few things. This is my foam cut knife. The website is pretty helpful with a lot of hints about how to make seats and yada yada. And they said just cut it with a knife. Well, I wanted to be able to get all the way through with an uninterrupted cut. So I got here a couple of dollar store kitchen knives welded together. So yeah, that's my my foam forming knife. The other thing that I found out works real handy is to shape this. This is a tricky cutout to shape. It has to fit over the seat pan, of course, right here. And you could, you know, cut around with the knife, get it kind of close. But most of this was actually formed with a sanding drum on just a 3/8 drill. These pockets over here, these grooves are to clear the backrest, and the backrest slips into these tubes. Anyway, these were formed with a sanding drum and a Dremel tool. So my seat foam goes in here like this. What, pray tell, you may ask, am I going to do to cover this shit up? Well, that's where the butt pad goes. This slips into the two tubes that I have welded to the back of the seat pan. Well, what's going to cover this up, you may ask? Well, I'll show you. I have a piece of foam cut to fit over that. So that's going to be my butt resting area right there. It's going to be covered with leather. I made the butt pad leather cover, and I was striving for something that maybe would look like you know, belonged on a horse, or something a cowboy maybe made by hand. And yeah, I like this. You know, not perfect by any means, but it achieves the look I wanted to have for this bike. And this piece was a pain in the ass. I did this first as kind of a test because you know, I wanted to see how it would go before I tackle the whole seat. And it turns out small things are hard, because when you're doing this baseball stitching, as it comes together, you're now working down inside here, which is a pain in the ass. But in either case, any case, the foam block stuff's right in there. I got a couple of holes in the bottom for the mounting post to protrude through. This is going to go in there like yay. This is going to get folded over and probably pop riveted on, and this whole mess is going to get pushed into the holes on the seat pan. And there you have it. Of course, this edge that's sticking out is going to be folded back and tucked under. So that's how the seat is going to work. The notes on seat building. there's 88 holes hand punched around the periphery of this thing. They're a quarter of an inch apart. There's also 88 holes punched around this piece that goes around. A quarter inch is 0.250. These holes are 0.274. When you go to do something like this, you have to know where everything is going to end up exactly. So, the radius around here is a little greater than the radius around here. So the holes in this piece have to be a little farther apart than the holes in this piece. Oh, I made a mistake right here. Son of a bitch. I may redo that, or I may not. Damn it. See, I'm looking at it, I see. But you see, like right here where these two straight ones are, this is where the lacing begins. One hunk of lacing goes this way, the other hunk of lacing goes this way. Down here on the bottom, this little crossover where everything ends up. Like I say, you have to plan this exactly, or it ain't going to work right. Man, that one mistake over there, that is going to drive me crazy until I fix that. Son of a bitch. Ay, ay, ay. And there's no easy way to do it either. I'm going to have to unlace everything from here to here. Well, no, yeah, here. God damn. Anyway, that's, just a consideration. A couple of things I learned about lacing leather things like this. This lacing cord is tanned on one side, but it's kind of raw on the other side. Well, when you're doing a baseball stitch, the stitches go under one way and it flips over. So you end up with the tan side showing on one stitch, the untanned side showing on the other stitch. Not desirable. I tried to use round lacing to avoid this problem with, one side unfinished and the other side finished. Round lacing, I wanted it to be kind of heavy too. The leather won't pull tight because the round lacing takes up so much space, so the flat lacing works better. And what I ended up finding was that I have suede lacing, and the suede lacing ends up with the same finish on both sides, so it doesn't care when the direction reverses in a baseball stitch. It works out okay. So a lot goes into hand lacing up a leather seat, let me tell you. I had talked to a guy about making one of these for me, and I told him what I wanted, and he says, so you mean you want me to punch all them holes in there one at a time, and then you want me to pull a lace through there, each one of those in baseball stitch? And I said, yeah, that's what I want. He said, forget it, ain't no way I'm doing that. So if you want to attempt this kind of a project, you're probably going to get stuck doing it yourself. All right, minor update on leather stitching. I was playing with another pattern, and I might like this better. I'm not sure. So, I'm sure you leather crafting guys are laughing your asses off at me as I try to struggle through stitching a couple of things together. But anyway, to be determined. Final patterns, I guess. Okay, to those of you who say, there's no way I space them holes every 0.274 inches, knock this out on the mill with the DRO, holes 0.274 inches center on center. Yeah, so laying that leather work out, that's a kind of a giant pain in the balls. But anyway, that's how I did it. You guys have probably seen stock Sportsters idling. And, when you rev them up and you look at them, the whole ass end of the fender shakes like this on them. That could be a problem. This is a 74 frame. Let me get you down at a better angle. This is a 74 frame, and there were steel bars welded between here and here. The previous owner cut them off, and if you recall from the very first video on this bike like a year ago, this bike had a hardtail on it that I gave away. Ironhead Sally ended up getting a hardtail. And if you watch her channel, you know she had a bit of an accident. She just made a video like a week ago, so I hope she's doing well. But anyway, the hardtail, I didn't want a hardtail. I wanted something with springs. So these braces were cut off. Now, I was talking to one of you guys, one of you viewers actually came over to visit me, and he related a story about he had one of these bikes, I don't know, 73, 72 or whatever, and it was before the straps were welded on. The first year or two that they made this style frame didn't have the bars, and then Harley found out the frame's cracked, so they offered this as a service bulletin. But anyway, apparently on his bike, the frame broke under here. Well, you know, there's those fuses and wiring under there, and apparently it set his ass on fire because the wiring shorted out and the frame broke. Not a desirable thing. So I decided this all needed to be stabilized somehow, and I'll show you how I did that. This bar right here is going to be the termination point for a couple of braces that angle back to the rear side of the seat fender oil tank bracket over there. And I enlarged the holes where that little metal guard goes on that helps stabilize the fender. Anyway, this bolts on. Whoops, put it on backwards. Yeah, I side milled this out and used a roughing mill, and these little grooves in here, I think I'm going to bite into the frame a little bit and help rigidly locate this thing to the frame. So probably at that same estate sale, this is probably part of that same stash of stainless steel rod that I got. We're going to bolt one end on here. And we're going to bolt the other end on up here. And I, of course, have one for each side. I'm going to go rig up the other one right now. I haven't even tried to put it on yet. You know, and you might notice stuff like this. This chain is ridiculously close to this bolt head. But you know, there's a clearance there. Not much, but there is. This is a hex head bolt. I'm going to get a button head Allen cap bolt and stick it in there. It's going to be a little shorter, so my clearance might go from a 16th to 3/32. But a clearance is a clearance, so that should be good, although just barely. All right, I've got the stabilizer bar for the other side rigged up. You know, none of this is tight, but it already has taken the wiggle and the shake out of this thing. However, I don't think that really addresses the problem of the frame cracking up in here. If you could see underneath here, and I could feel it more than I see it, the guy who had this before me did some real doctoring on this frame. And there's gouges, there's a cut mark right here. He was cutting that bracket off that goes right here. And there's a big cut mark in there where a cutoff wheel jabbed into there, and there's all kinds of gouges and pock marks on here. I'm going to have to do something to fix this up, but the way I'm going to address these angles being missing off of here, of course I could weld them back in, but I never did like the way they look. They look stupid if you ask me. I'm going to weld a gusset to the back of these two frame tubes, and that gusset is going to come up into here and tie the backbone more securely to these upright tubes. But that's going to be later on. I've left this thing Well, I left the engine in it so I could kind of test fit all this shit and make sure it was going to work. And I'm happy that it's all going to work right now. Other than repairs to the frame, I don't think I'm going to do a lot of welding on it. There's, repairs I got to make, some holes and stuff I got to drill, but I wanted to leave the engine in there so I can make sure how everything was going to go. I'm going to have to kind of test fit some kind of exhaust because I might need to weld a bracket on the frame somewhere, although hopefully not. But anyway, I wanted to leave the engine there so I could make sure everything was going to fit before I tore the engine out and rebuilt it. One other thing, let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, battery. The engine is going to have dual plugs. It's going to have a magneto running one set of plugs and a points running the other set of plugs. Anyway, point being is this, it only needs a little battery. This is my battery 2x4 simulator. It's one of them little batteries. MTB4BB is the battery number. And we got to make a battery box and put it somewhere. Right now I'm thinking somewhere is going to be up under here. There's enough room. When I was laying all this out and figuring things out, I had my shock simulators. Which is this piece of square tube stock. And this thing is, I think it was 13.5 inches long. But anyway, it is the same height as a compressed shock. And when I built all this, it was in the worst case scenario. The wheel all the way forward, the shock all the way compressed. That way I know the wheel will clear the seat in the oil tank. So all the way forward, and I also moved the wheel all the way back to make sure I had room. So this is as close as it's ever going to get to the frame, and there's going to be room up under there for my little tiny battery box. When I build a bike, I want the focus to be on the motor. So I wanted to leave as much around the motor as open as I could leave it. So that's why, I didn't want an oil tank in here. I didn't want a big battery in here. I didn't want a goddamn electric starter in here. I didn't want a solenoid in there. I didn't want to start a relay in there. I wanted to leave it as open as I could get it. Anyway, that's what I was going for. My junk Sportster tanks, it had holes rusted in the bottom. I've been experimenting with paint and things on this. It's a junk tank. But anyway, I wanted to put a tank on there to get a little inspiration for the way this project is going to go. So tank held on with a pencil, because that's how I do it. Now, pencil is the first thing I grabbed when I was going to go do that. So anyway, just to get an idea, And, this ends up being important because, I got to get handlebars. These handlebars are going to go. Well, you got to make sure the handlebars are going to clear the gas tank. You're going to have to crank the handlebars all the way over one way and the other way to make sure none of this shit hits the tank, because sometimes it does. The oil lines, of course, are going to come out of here. And I see, three. I'm thinking I'm going to use stainless steel, braided stainless steel lines for this. So there's going to need to be a couple of brackets hanging down and through here, and some kind of a loom or whatever to hold the lines so they're not just flopping in the breeze. And here's the other fender brace, tailpiece brace. But yeah, this is coming together. I do have some more jobs coming in, so I've got other work I'm going to need to be doing here pretty soon. But this bike is, I'm going to try to get this back on track to be, a number one priority. And now that I've got this hard part done, and geez, if you guys knew what a pain in the balls it was to get this worked out. I spent a lot of time just sitting out here looking at it and putting it together in my head. And when you do something like this, you got to make sure that it's something, where all the nuts and bolts are accessible, where it's something that can be put together and something that can be taken apart. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this. I'm not a CAD guy. I'm not good at drawing things. I work, in steel, and just kind of take it slow and, do my fitting. But yeah, it was a lot of fun here so far. Like I say, I really enjoy. This is what I enjoy doing. Uh, I've done some custom work for some people, and honestly, you couldn't pay. If I had to pay myself for what I got into this hour-wise, I'd be bankrupt right now. I mean, there's hours and hours. It might not look like it. You might not think so. You can maybe do it faster. You can maybe do it better. Yeah, I get all that. But, I've got hours and hours and hours in this to get it to this point. Although I think I'm beginning to see the finish line. There's other stuff on here which I have videoed but haven't published the videos on, about building the wheels, building the brakes, how I was going to lay all that stuff out. But yeah, it's coming along. I'm going to get back on this thing, and you'll see more of it in the near future. So what's coming up next with this project? Well, the motor will be coming out soon. I just ordered a new gas tank. It's going to be a Sportster, early style Sportster gas tank, and I'm just stuck on some things. And when you got the most perfect shaped gas tank already, why change it? So anyway, the motor's going to be coming out. The swing arm, front end, all that's going to be coming off. I got stuff I got to grind off the frame. I've got some of the other guy hacked up areas I got to work on and I got to fix. The motor's going to get rebuilt, and I don't know anything about this engine. I got this bike and another bike for like $600 or $700 a few years ago. The other bike I sold to a guy. I kept this one for a project. Like I say, I know nothing about it really. I do know, however, that I pulled the spark plugs out, looked down the holes, and the pistons have never been run. So I'm hoping this is a rebuilt motor in here, and maybe other than clean it up and check it out, hopefully I won't have to do much to it. Hopefully, but you know how that goes with bikes. So anyway, motor will be coming out. It'll be coming apart. All the customizing that needs test fitting is pretty much done. And you know what? With that, I think I am out of here. See you all later. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time. Men, if you like this channel and this content, the single most important thing you could do to help grow this channel is to hit the subscribe button. I also have new design coffee cups and stickers available. I like the old coffee cups, but I like these new ones even more. Links are included in the description down below. And for those of you who really want to go the extra mile, you could join me on Patreon. Link is also included in the description down below. And to all of you who have watched these videos, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye.